100%. Priest of Forgotten Gods, a very, very good card. Sure enough. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today's nonsense is going to be in Magic the Gathering Arena, as always. And today we have a little bit of a special treat. Poseidon J in our Twitch chat has redeemed a whole bunch of channel points to get me to review a deck. This one is one you are likely familiar with if you watch any amount of the channel. We have played some amount of mono red, but it's big red is the term that a lot of the time people will use in the game. It's not traditionally when you say mono red, right? People think, oh, it's going to be really aggressive. You're going to die on turn 4. That is true of a lot of mono red decks. This is not that, right? This is big red. We are doing lots of very, very large splashy things, and you are then using damage-based removal to get you to those really big things. You know, if you want to do big things in green, you get lands onto the battlefield quick. If you want to do big things in blue, you do counter spells until you get there. Things like that, right? Well, in red, it's damage-based removal. So what is going on here? Well, folks, you'll note, first off, probably most of you are looking at this mana base going, holy cow, 19 lands to try and cast Ulamog? What is this? What is this, right? Well, okay. There's a couple of things that go into that. First of all, yes, 19 lands is not very many, but there are 4 Spikefield Hazards and a Shatterskull Smashing. So we're actually on 24, which is not, or I'm sorry, 25, because there is the Valakut Awakening as well. So that's not too incredibly low, right? And then there are also Irencrag feats. First of all, fantastic art on this card, you know. Add 7 red mana. You can only cast 1 more spell this turn. So the idea is you get to 4 mana, you cast Irencrag feat, and then you can cast a big thing. Well, okay, that could be Chandra Awakening Inferno. You know I have an affinity for Chandra Awakening Inferno, but it could also be Ugin the Ineffable. Or if you waited until you had 5 mana, it could be Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Or just a few more mana yet, it could be Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, right? So Irencrag feat, a little bit of the secret sauce here, as well as just, you know, making land drops. The backup Irencrag feats here are a little bit in disguise. Treasure map. You can pay 1 and scry 1. Okay, tap it. Put a landmark counter on treasure map. Then if there are 3 or more landmark counters on those on treasure map, flip treasure map, create 3 treasure tokens. This was often used in its time in standard as a card advantage engine. Once it flips over, you can tap the treasure cove to sacrifice a treasure and draw a card. In this deck, we will likely do some of that, no doubt, if we flip a treasure map, but it is also a convenient way. It turns into a land itself, so that kind of ramps you, for 1. And then it gives you 3 treasure. So on the turn it flips, you know, the next turn, you would theoretically have 4 available mana, right? That's a lot of additional mana in conjunction with whatever mana we had on the battlefield, and it can easily flip you into Ugins, Ulamogs, and the like. So can we win any games with it? Let's find out. All right, folks. Here we are up against Callous Typhon. Good luck, Callous Typhon. And yeah, I mean, you know, as long as our opponent's doing creature sort of stuff, this hand is quite good. Scorching Dragonfire does also hit Planeswalkers, and I think that's entirely relevant. Our opponent starts on a swamp, progresses directly into a plains, and shows us Giada, Font of Hope. Well, folks, we're not going to let them get the turn back so they can protect it, or worse yet, play a angel or something like that. Giada, absolutely a terrifying creature. We're just getting that thing out of here right now. Opponent goes with Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, and that one I think we will allow to sit for a turn. Giving us the opportunity to scry for lands would be good. We have a lot of really expensive cards to cast here. Opponent goes with another Giada and crashes in for 1. Does so. We're going to scry for a land. That is not a land. All right, well, we didn't get it, so I guess we're going to go with the old exile-based removal because they are in black, and we don't want to see either of these cards ever again. You know, hopefully that's all the Giadas our opponent draws, because Giada, very, very scary. Admittedly, the Afterlife would have been nice to be able to exile that one too. Was not expecting Seraph the Scales. I think definitely a little bit of an underplayed card, but also a surprise. The question is, are we supposed to get rid of it right now? I think we are, because we have Chandras and things coming in the future. This does leave us open to be able to treasure map as well. Of course, we could have Banefired, of course. And then we wouldn't have to deal with any of these creatures. But I think this is fine. So Callous Typhon goes with another land. Well, they've not had a problem hitting their land drops, I can tell you that. 2 damage directly onto our face. Down to 17. And they Grim Tutor. Is this another? No, this is probably like Lyra or something. They have 6 mana. That's, you know, roughly infinite mana. They probably went and got a Haymaker. No! Oh, phooey, folks. I accidentally did click the 2-hour turn thing. I was trying to go to their end step, and we missed a scry on the treasure map. That's actually quite tragic. Yeah, that could mess us up in, you know, in earnest here. Sure enough, Divine Visitation comes down. That is very bad news. Yeah, let's scry. All right. There is a land. Good news, because we've got to get to this Ugin so we can destroy the Divine Visitation before it literally ends the game. Very, very unfortunate that it happened that way. So yeah, I guess we'll hang on for now. So land, scry, treasure map. You know what? That's actually fine, I think. Flip it over, and Ugin join the party. This just doesn't feel great, but I think it is fine. The Divine Visitation will ruin us, so just go ahead and give up the Ugin. We get a Chandra, which is a pretty nice consolation prize, all things considered. Okay, Bishop of Wings shows up. And the opponent has Foretold, which has to be the Angels, right? There's no doubt. This is just going to be several angel creatures. So Bishop of Wings going to be a problematic permanent that needs dealt with, no doubt. Well, things are definitely a bit awkward here. Let's draw another card to start. Chandra doesn't really solve things right now. All right, so treasure map, join the party. I think the plan is currently, if they fire off angels, to, yeah, sure enough, they're going to fire off angels now, I assume. So I think we're just going to go ahead, prevent as much of the damage as possible. Bonecrusher Giant, Flame Blast Bolt. So now they're going to be able to get 3 4/4 flying angels. We drop to 12. That is lethal in the air. Not feeling great about that. Definitely going to have to sort out a problem. But of course, the reason we got rid of the Bishop Wings is they gain 1,000,000 life, meaning our Chandra going up is less. Yep, sure enough, is less important. But it also it leaves behind the flyers that at our current life total are also quite dangerous. So if we do this, we can do x equals 9 is all. So if we do this, that would just be x equals 4. Yeah, I guess we do have to do this. And then Starnheim Unleash, or I'm sure, sorry, Shatterskull Smashing. And x equals 7. No, I'm sorry. X equals 6. Because it's just 6 or more. Yeah. This one and this one. And 6. 6. Submit. Don't mind if I do. Yeah. The problem is they've still got 6 power on board, which is an awful lot, right? That's a lot of power and toughness. Oh, thank heavens. All right, they top deck of planes. That much is good news. They're going to crash in. We're going to scry. I think we need something better than a mountain here. And they hit us for 6. Okay. Not ideal, but okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. These things happen. Opponent still has 2 power on board, but we do have a Shatterskull Awakening Inferno that can come down next turn. And hopefully sweep things up. If this is a big old nasty angel, a Lyra, a Baneslayer, something like that, we're in a lot of trouble. Because then we have to take Chandra all the way down. They just kill Chandra. We have no meaningful ways of interacting with their creatures, and we don't have a lot of life to work with. Thank heavens. Okay, so yes, folks, the magic deities are smiling upon us and have graced them with a few lackluster at best top decks. We then get the Ugin. Of course, scrying does help, folks. The scrying definitely helps to make sure to find the cards we want. We're going to be scrying yet again with Treasure Map, going to be ramping just a wee bit. And Callous Typhon does come up with a Baneslayer. Oh my goodness, see, this is exactly what we're worried about, but it's okay because we have Ugin the Ineffable, right? Land goes away, flips over, Solemn Simulacrum, going to show up. We're going to go ahead, kill your Baneslayer, and Chandra, having had just that very, very important turn, is able to tick up. So now, if there is, let's say, another Lyra or something like that, Chandra can kill it. It would go away. We would not be happy about it, but it would be fine. Like, you know, it would be fine. Oh boy, and Youthful Valkyrie. So they get Inspiring Overseer and Youthful Valkyrie. These things are not ideal, but it's fine. Because Chandra is able to negative if -3 if we need it to, and just kind of do a little Sweltering Suns there. Okay, these things are fine. So yeah, I guess let's actually do that. It's a little unfortunate to have to go down this way, but we do have plenty of instant speed interaction. We're going to be able to motivate our own board to get aggressive. We are kind of shuffling a bunch of things we've scryed to the bottom back into the deck, which is kind of annoying, but I think this is fine. So now our opponent taking a damage from Chandra Awakened Inferno drops to 13. We have 8 power on board, folks. That is no small amount. We're going to go ahead and just Bonecrusher Giant that thing right now, not fooling around, and we're going to draw a card. Again, not BMing, but trying to play our best game, so to speak. We draw a Treasure Map and immediately progress into Ugin the Spirit Dragon. That is very good. So we're going to attack in for 8. Plus Chandra, our opponent going to be able to drop to 3. Of course, at the beginning of their turn, we're going to Ugin the Spirit Dragon plus on their face. And sure enough, folks, that is going to be sufficient to kill them before they ever get a draw step. So GG, Callous Typhon. GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Rakuro Doido. Good luck, Rakuro Doido. And yeah, I think we'll keep this. It's not an amazing hand, but, you know, Solemn Simulacrums will get us into more things, more lands and draws and things later if we can get to them. Admittedly, another Solemn Simulacrum, not quite where we wanted to be here. 4 drops when you only have 2 mana, not the cards you're looking to draw typically. Okay, opponent has an Adanto Vanguard and a Hopeful Initiate, and this is inconvenient because, darn it. That Adanto Vanguard can gain Indestructible, and we're unlikely to be pressuring their life total anytime soon. So we are just going to go ahead and get rid of the creature that trains. That is good. The Adanto Vanguard, though, we're likely going to have to do a fair amount of chumping. The good news is these Solemn Simulacrums, we don't mind chumping with. That's a fine thing to do. Okay, well, we're going to take 3 after they cast Wedding Announcement. Going to put another creature onto the board, and there is a Treasure Map. Okay, this is not strictly amazing, but it will allow us to scry for lands, which would hopefully allow us to get down Solemn and continue progressing our game plan. So that's okay. Opponent, 3 cards in hand, takes another card for the turn. If they attack with both creatures, you draw another card with Wedding Announcement. Oh, crud, another Adanto Vanguard. That is really problematic, folks. We are not happy about seeing another Adanto Vanguard, even the least bit. That is a quick clock. All right, sure enough, our opponent does elect to draw cards as opposed to get more dudes. We're going to go ahead and scry with the treasure map, looking for a land, I believe. I think we need an actual land, thank you. That is not it. But it is a reasonable thing. If our opponent wants to keep the Adonta Vanguards on board, they would have to pay 8 life. In fact, they pay 0 life. I think that was a punt. I think they needed to keep at least one of those cards. But at the end of the day, they let it go, and we're pretty happy about that, to be certain. Yay! So we got there, folks. Good win, good win. Yep, in fact, Rockero did not end up doing anything else. Just roped us right out. It's strongly possible, again, that it wasn't them making a conscious decision to rope out. A lot of people are not aware that if you click, you shut down the client or shut down your computer, that it doesn't just get you right out of the game. It doesn't concede. You rope your opponents. So either way, Rockero, good game. Good game. All right, folks, here we are up against Valerio Gano. Good luck, Valerio Gano. And yeah, I think we're going to keep this hand. Our opponent going to make their own mulligan decisions and be on the play. Fabled Passage comes out. They immediately crack. No, they're not going to try and conceal any information here. They're just going to try and make it all happen as quickly as possible to move the game along. I respect it. Opponent goes with an island, shocks in a stomping ground. Interesting. Well, we're going to go ahead and just get a treasure map onto the battlefield. Being able to ramp a little bit seems like a good thing. Opponent goes with Growth Spiral. Going to draw a card, put a land from their hand onto the battlefield. Turns out it's a Sulphur Falls. Our opponent now has access to double red, double blue, and a green as well. But then they go with Sun Petal Grove from their hand. Cultivates a couple more lands, both of them forests, one to hand, one to the battlefield. So I guess a little bit sketchy here, no doubt. I think we do want to start getting counters on the treasure map. Okay, well, that's a fine one. It will allow us to Ugin next turn, just in case they do something truly nasty. And considering we have seen blue, red, white, and green, we know there are at least 4 colors. It is entirely possible they're actually on a 4 or 5 color brew, but they also could just be doing like Omnath stuff, right? So Stomp. And Mountain, Irencrag Feet, Ugin, and then yeah, always activate this first. That was almost an error, because if they have some kind of burn spell or something, that might prevent us from being able to get rid of the Fabled Mirror Breaker. So Ugin comes down, gets rid of the Fabled Mirror Breaker, prevents them from rummaging, also prevents them from flipping over. We do have another Ugin, interestingly enough. Do we care about that? I'm not sure. Treasure map. Aha, yes. Well, we want that card. I can tell you that right now. In the meantime, though, I think we will just Bonecrusher Giant, get a larger clock on, and pass the turn for now. Holding up Bonecrusher Giant if necessary, but we'd rather not spend treasures in that manner unless absolutely required. Yep. Opponent cycles away a Ketria Triumph, plays a Clifftop Retreat, and passes the turn. Well, fair enough. Let's go ahead and activate Ugin. It's a Banefire. Okay, well, combat, we're going to get in. Opponent drops to 12. Ugin the Spirit Dragon for 6 mana. Don't mind if I do. Join the party and go straight upstairs for 3, folks. This is going to end the game in a hurry unless our opponent has some sort of activity this turn. Lotus Cobra joins the party. A land adds mana. Genesis Ultimatum? It is Genesis Ultimatum. Okay, so that's definitely the sort of card that could potentially get our opponent out of this mess. They get a couple of lands, 3 cards go to hand, 2 mana is all that's available. Not looking good for our opponent. They do get to add 2 mana of any color to their hand right now, so they have 4 mana available total. Growth Spiral, not a board sweeper here. Digging deeper, though. Okay, that could anger the gods, Sweltering Suns, something like that, and get our opponent out of this. They still have access to 4 mana, of course, because of Lotus Cobra. And Crow and War joins the party, going to go ahead and take our spirit here. Fine. It's tapped. So we're just going to go ahead, crash in, and go upstairs. GG, opponent. GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Libolik. Good luck, Libolik. And yeah, I think this hand is fine. The Solemn really helps. We get the ability to ramp into, you know, more mana, have access to our larger casting cost things, as long as we make it that far. And we have plenty of early interaction for the early game. I think we're gonna plan on hoping to anger the gods here. Yeah. All right. Prosperous Innkeeper is fine. We don't know if they're missing their land drop, right? If they're missing their land drop, are we? Oh boy, yeah, we're 100% gonna be anger the gods in here. Let me tell you. Yeah, our turn. 100%. Priest of Forgotten Gods, a very good card. Sure enough, Libolik saying I can't win now. So GG, Libolik, GG. All right, folks, here we are up against the Walker. Good luck, the Walker. And yeah, I think we're going to keep this hand. Looks like Valakut Awakening going to be our opening land, almost certainly. But if there's some, you know, pressing, urgent need, we could Flame Bless Bolt, depending on what it is that our opponent shows us. Valakut Awakening offering quite a bit of flexibility here, but you know, definitely being able to be that third land in this hand, exactly where we want to be. So not gonna fool around. Our opponent goes with Fetid Pools. Wonder if our opponent's doing like rogues or ninjas or something like that, or if maybe they're doing something a little more nefarious. Let's wait. If they are on rogues and stuff, giving them one turn to start deploying things, not the end of the world. If they're on counter magic and stuff like that, you know, sometimes you just have to wade through it. So, all right. For now, we'll give them one more turn, and then we'll Bonecrusher Giant on their end step. If they do nothing, okay, considers. I guess they could also potentially be on Greasefang, and they just haven't found a white mana yet. Esper Greasefang is one of the better lists in the format. And it does, you know, show up pretty often. Okay, so we are now playing around Quench, and of course the extra 2 mana soft counters for spike effects. Bonecrusher Giant, join the party. What do you say, the Walker? What do you say? Make disappear. You got me. All right, well, Spikefield Cave joins the party as well. This is definitely going to be a matchup where we want to see our Chandra Awaken Inferno. That is a very good one. All right, well, that looks like a card that's going to get cycled away, but that's, of course, one of the chief advantages of Sweltering Suns over any other potential choice here, is the cycling does really matter in these matchups where we're not expecting our opponent to, you know, show us creatures. So Flame Blast Bolt going to get rid of the shark. Opponent going to draw a card. We're still planning on Sweltering Sunning. And, you know, the game plan really hasn't changed at all. Just planning on Chandra Awaken Inferno, hopefully at some point here in the not-too-distant future. Sweltering Suns. Get cycled away. It's a mountain. I mean, okay. This does hit Planeswalkers, so it's not as dead as these Anger the Gods. The Anger the Gods, though, feeling quite not ideal. Also notable, folks, that Banefire has now crossed the 5 mana threshold. If X is 5 or more, it can't be countered, and the damage can't be prevented. So, if our opponent does slam some nasty planeswalker or something, we can Banefire it and wade through their counter magic as well. Opponent does the things. Well, okay, Ugin the Spirit Dragon is something. Though, admittedly, we kind of expect it to be counterspelled when that something happens. So I think we will progress that direction, just in case our opponent taps way down. You know, they could tap down to, you know, cast some big nasty thing, you know. And then we might respond by Ugining. Okay, another shark. Not thrilled about this, but it is what it is. Yep. Opponent going to attack here. Sure. Hits us for 5, and now it's going to be our turn. Ulamog. Interesting. All right, so we're going to go about this very deliberately here. Anger the gods. They're going to let the first one resolve. We're going to have to battle over the next 2. I expect to lose. I expect our opponent to counter both of these spells, but it's just really nice being able to take advantage of these cards that would normally be dead. And for the record, they would normally be dead. Okay, Hullbreaker Horror joins the party. Tragic. Tragic indeed. Ulamog, unlikely to resolve here. I think the game has ended. I can't think of a way out of this. Yeah. What a thought distortions us. Woo! Disgusting. I mean, this would be normally great, but it is not great now. Because our opponent can return it to our hand. It's not even counterspelling it. It's just returning it to our hand, you know? Absolutely brutal. Well, GG the Walker. GG. You got us. You got us good. All right, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back. Boy, that was a trip. Folks, I always love the style deck. Big Red is just a good time. Consistently performing at a reasonable, if not even a high level on the regular. And I think Poseidon really put a sweet list together here, folks. Whether we're talking about the Solemn Simulacrums or the Irencrag feats, just really taking advantage of the fact that we have a lower land count but also able to ramp us in a color that doesn't normally do a lot of ramping. The treasure maps also being really key here. I think, honestly, it was a joy to pilot and an honor to be able to be a part. Folks, if you were thinking to yourself, well, I've got my own flavor of nonsense I'd like to show off on the channel. You too could do that. Come on over to the Twitch channel. Just hang out. The channel points are free. You don't have to pay any money. You just hang out. And then you too could have this happen. As far as recommendations, it really depends. Personally, I think both right now and going forward, blue-white control is going to be improved. There is a Historic and an Explorer anthologies, both coming out onto the client this week. One of the cards they've already spoiled for is Supreme Verdict. I think that really gives blue-white control a nice little step up in the format, and I think we need to be prepared for the fact that it could show up more often than it even already has. It's still a little bit weird in Best of One because traditionally speaking, blue-white control struggles a little bit against aggressive decks, and you expect to see a lot of aggression in Best of One. So I don't think it's going to be dominating the hues by any means, but it easily could make Chandra Wake Inferno better than it already is. Similarly, maybe those of you who are thinking, yeah, but I don't really care for Ugin or Ulamog. How would you change the deck if you didn't want Ugin or Ulamog? Well, personally, I think Ugin the Ineffable might still just be fine. Making the Solemns and treasure maps be decreased in casting cost is nice. And it's just not, like, it's just a solid value planeswalker that's going to earn you advantage over the course of the game. But these could easily be something else from your collection should you elect to go that direction. It could just be more Chandras. Again, that you know, 2 more Chandras if you have them in your collection. And this just ends up being a very solid, you know, big red deck. Admittedly, if that was the case, you might reconsider Irencrag Feet. If you know, if you were not doing these big ones, the fact that we have enough of them, I think this list is fine with them. Even good potentially. But if you're taking away the biggest top end, I would say maybe reconsider. If you want to keep the Irencrag Feats in because you like the card and you don't want these, I would look for things in right up here, 7+ in colorless and red, just like that, and kind of see if anything really strikes your fancy. You could do something like Yadaro, just because it cycles away really nicely in the early game, comes down with a pretty solid thump, and occasionally you can get it for free if it just shows up at the correct times. But you could also do something like Draco Set and you know, Hamlet Bath Goliath. You could do any number of really powerful things that are just a good time. That's the wonderful thing about mono or the big red package, is you are actually leaning on these to win the game. You win the game essentially with your interaction and things like that. You keep the board clean. You could get a Goblin Piker down and essentially win the game once you've taken over the game, similar to a control deck will. These just happen to slam the door better than any other on the client, so that's why they're here, and I agree. That said, again, Draco Seth could fill that role just fine, or you know, something like that. So all things considered, folks, it was a blast, and I encourage you to play it. I look forward to seeing you all next time. You have a wonderful evening.